Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament, of the Christian Bible. I used the King James Version of the Christian Bible to put together the book of Zion. It is a book of prophecy. It tells us everything that's happening and why, and it leads us to Zion. And if you want to video view the Book of Zion to see what the prophets of Israel actually have to say about our current situation and where it's leading, then you should go to Pot Smoker's Bible on YouTube, all lowercase, and you can video view the entire Book of Zion with its corresponding Pot Smoker's Bible commentary, and it's absolutely free, as is everything that I do. I do nothing for money, because money is nothing but a big stop, and it's a killjoy. And today's lesson is about joy. Every person who is created is a very unique person. There is only one other person in existence that is even closely resembling that person, and that is their soulmate. And the whole purpose of life is love, to find your soulmate. But in order to find your soulmate, you first have to find yourself. Each time we evolve into a new person, we create ourselves as a new, unique individual. And that individual has aspects of prior personalities within them, but the new manifestation is unique. We recombine aspects of our prior selves to create the new self that is coming into being. And each of us has within us elements of joy, things that are part of us, that are totally unique to us, that just by doing them, we create joy. And when we create joy, we bring light into the world. And when we bring light into the world, we dissipate all darkness. When we dissipate all darkness, bad things don't happen so easily. We live in a negative plane. If you think about it, our TV is filled with negativity. It has violence. It has greed. It has the baser instincts all glorified and on open display. And we involve ourselves in these stories that are geared towards darkness. Now, of course, we have the happily ever after at the end to make us think that it's a good story. But it's not a good story. It creates darkness. The more you are exposed to something, the easier it is for you to do that, to be that. So the more violence you watch on TV, the more violent you become. Because you're monkeys. We're all monkeys. Monkeys see, monkey do. So if we inundate ourselves with nothing but negativity, then we're going to have nothing but negativity to give to back. You get as good as you give. If you give to the world darkness, the world is going to be a dark place because your darkness made it that way. But to dissipate that darkness, you have to create light. And to create light, you create joy. And each individual has certain things in their lives about their personalities that elicit pure joy. Joy on a personal scale. Now, that's before you can truly experience love, which is the ultimate expression of joy, you have to have that joy within you first. If you go to love, and you go to love with darkness in your soul, you're going to darken that love. So before you can ever be ready for true love or evolution, you must first dissipate the darkness within so that what you create will be filled with light. And you do that by finding your joy. Now, like I said, everyone has those things in their life that simply by existing bring them joy. And it usually has something to do with an aspect of your personality, a talent that you were born with, which literally means that you cultivated that in a different lifetime, and it's something that you mastered and brought forward into this lifetime. Now, some people have multiple ways to find their joy. I'm one of them because I sing. And just the very act of singing brings me joy. I dance. And just the very act of dancing brings me joy. I write. The very act of telling a story, writing something, brings me joy. And when I feel joy, I generate joy. And I give it to the world. So I'm a joy maker. And you can be a joy maker too. Just find your thing. That one thing that makes you happy doing it just for the sake of doing it. It's usually a talent. You know, it's like if you're the gardener, it's your green thumb. When you're out in the garden and you're actually tending those plants, that brings you joy. Anything can bring you joy. Being with children, caring and nurturing children can bring you joy. We all need to find our joy. Now, that's not to be mistaken with entertainment. Because entertainment is how we get around the fact that we don't have our joy. You entertain yourself to distract yourself. And you distract yourself because you don't want to feel what's within you, your emotional state. We live in a negative world. Negative things happen so easily. In fact, the only way you can make something positive happen in this world without great effort is through money. And money is a joy kill. It kills joy all the way around. Or it masks the emptiness. Because this comes from within. There's no amount of video games or books that can change what's in you. That comes from within you. And if you stop wasting your time seeking ways to mask the fact that you don't have joy, then you can find your joy. And if you're very depressed, then you need to empty out your hurt so that you can create joy within yourself. But even in the darkest, most depressed state, there is still the means for you to find joy. And that is simply by finding your talent. That thing that you were born with that you're good at just naturally. That is your joy. Or it's one way to reach joy. So cultivate what you're good at. Now, a lot of us have really crappy jobs that don't bring us any joy at all. But if we have joy within our lives outside of our job, then we can become a joyful person in itself. And then we bring joy to everything we do. Because you have to start with joy. You start with emotions, and emotions are actually deeper than thoughts. You feel something before you think it, and you think something before you say it or do it. So your emotion is your first response. It's the first to get. It's where you come from. It's where you are. You are emotion. You're not flesh. You're light. You're energy. And the energy that you are is emotional energy. It is what motivates you or gives you lack of motivation. You know those people who, you know that if you're depressed, lack of motivation is a big problem for you. But there is a way to find joy, even in the darkest darkness, because we were each born with the means to create joy. Something that is ours and ours alone and unique to us. Some activity that we can do because we have a skill that we have learned in a prior lifetime that we are really good at because we've mastered it before. And it brings us joy because there is only joy in accomplishment. There's only joy in mastering something. There's only joy in doing that which comes from your heart, from within. Now, we can't dictate love. Love will not come unless we are ready for it. And to become ready for it, we have to find our joy. Because joy draws love to us. You know, people who are depressed, you want to stay away from them because they're depressed. You don't want to be sharing in that depression. And you don't want to be around the guy who's angry because, well, that's violence and that's an ugly feeling. And we don't want to be around that either. And so we navigate our world avoiding bad emotions. That is one of the biggest problems of humanity. Somehow, somewhere, somebody decided that it was just easier to not feel. But to not feel is to not live. There is no life in mediocrity. There's no life in cardboard worlds, plastic things, plastic people without emotion. But in a negative field, negative emotions are what is prevalent. That's what you feel. Because that's what's there. That's what everybody generates. Depression, anger, despair, loneliness, emptiness, pain, suffering. That's what this world is filled with. And it's because we don't find our joy. We're inundated with not joy. Anything and everything that's not joyful. But within each of us is this thing about us that by its very being creates joy within. Find that joy. Because even in the darkest moment, that joy is there for the very purpose of bringing you out of that depression. If you're depressed, it's because you're dwelling on something. And it's overwhelmed you and it's overpowered you. But even as it's overpowering you, it's only got power as long as you give it power. What you pay attention to is what you are. So pay attention to your joy. Find your joy. Create a world filled with your joy. So, let the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. Let them teach you right from wrong. May you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Be your joy. Find your joy. Express your joy. Stay happy and high. Know I love you. Later. Because I'll never say goodbye.